Hello, my name is Visor of the channel Viva Visor, and today I'm doing a quick first impression video over Titanfall for PREORDER.pro, specifically of the Titanfall beta, which is sort of why it has to be a first impression. That and the fact that I don't actually have time to do full reviews. Anyway, Titanfall is a first-person shooter with mechs and parkour from Respawn Entertainment. This is actually their first game, but if you know anything about Respawn, you would probably know that they were founded by the people who used to be in charge of Infinity Ward, who developed Call of Duty. Now, I'll admit that I really haven't played any of the Call of Duty games. They're not really my cup of tea. I think the last shooter I really played seriously was probably Counter-Strike Source. Hand down sights and me don't really get along well yet. However, I did play Mirror's Edge, and the parkour in the game is actually pretty good. Now, I don't think momentum is as granular as in Mirror's Edge, where you sort of build it up. In this game, it feels like you're just either full-out running or you're walking. Which, by the way, in the settings, you can actually turn on auto run. I think it makes more sense to have it on, but that's just me. But the parkour overall has a lot of the same moves as Mirror's Edge. You can chain up wall runs. You can, grab onto ledges. There are a few differences in Titanfall, like the fact that you have a jetpack, and there isn't a button to do a 180 turn immediately. But I think since you still kick off from the walls, you can probably do similar stuff. With only 2 maps in beta, I'm not really sure how they plan to use the parkour, but from what I saw, I mostly just used it to get around. I'm sure potentially it can be used more in combat. I think people just haven't gotten used to it yet. But I fully expect people to start doing some sort of crazy parkour combat maneuvers later on in the game. Probably also helps that the melee attack is an instant kill, so there's a lot of incentive to get up close and kick somebody in the face. Now, in terms of gunplay, there were 5 primary weapons for the pilots. They include a sniper rifle, a shotgun, a carbine rifle, SMG, and a smart auto-locking pistol, which I played around with a lot during the demo because I figured people would think it's overpowered or something. Overall, it's not too bad. To actually kill a pilot, you have to lock on 3 times, and even with enhanced locking, it still felt like it took me a good, maybe 3 seconds to do it. So if you sneak up on someone, yeah, you can probably kill them if you get the 3 lock-ons, but in the same amount of time with almost any other weapon, you could kill them faster. So it's really not there to be overpowered. I think it's in the game to be a skill floor, so even if you're really bad at shooting, you can at least use this gun and possibly get a few kills if you sneak up and flank people. Maybe some people don't like that, but honestly, it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the gunplay in general, so I didn't really care. I prefer the shotgun actually, even though I probably spent the most time with the carbine just because it's the gun you start with and it's a lot more versatile considering how big the map can be. Sure, if you just stay inside the buildings constantly, the shotgun probably would wreck face, but sometimes you gotta climb on top of a building and take somebody out. Now, in terms of customization, the things you can really customize are primary weapons and loadouts. You couldn't really customize your anti-Titan weapon or your sidearm. You had choices for those, but once you picked the weapon, that's pretty much what you had for that loadout. However, you also had these kit slots where you can get enhancements, I guess. I personally always took the parkour set and the minion finder set. It allows my radar to constantly see the little minions running around. But you could also get kits that allow you to recharge your ability faster, or allow you to carry more grenades, or allow your Titan to land faster or have a stronger shield. Oh, speaking of pilot ability, every pilot has a slot for an active ability. In the beta, you had the choice between Cloak and Stim. Now, Cloak worked really well against the Titan's opticals. They actually couldn't see you at all if you were cloaked. They could see your jetpack though, so that could be awkward. But players could actually see the shimmer of the cloak pretty clearly if they were paying attention. Stim, on the other hand, allows you to regenerate health faster and run quicker. So it's one of those choices where you can pick something that works pretty well against the Titan, or you can pick something that works pretty well against the people. Now, speaking of the Titans, since it is called Titanfall, they are a large part of the game, but I wouldn't say they're the most important part of the game. There's a lot of stuff you can do as a pilot that really levels the playing field. Anyway, for the Titan loadouts, you had a choice for a primary weapon. In the beta, it was a cannon, sort of a machine gun, and a quad rocket launcher. An active ability, which was a sort of energy shield that you could launch stuff back at the enemy, or electrical smoke, which was an AoE thing around you. A shoulder-mounted weapon, which in this case was either dumbfire rockets or homing rockets, as well as a bunch of kit slots that also enhance your Titan, like with either auto-eject or nuclear detonation, and some other passive abilities that could help you out. Now, I've sort of brushed over the customization of your primary weapons as a pilot and as a Titan. Basically, depending on different metrics, like if you get set number of kills or whatever, you'll unlock attachments for your primary weapons. Now, for the pilot weapons, you have the option of changing the scope as well as the attachment. Not all the weapons could change the scope though, like for example the shotgun was pretty much always iron sight, as was the smart pistol, but the carbine and the sniper rifle had a lot of scope choices. But all primary weapons sort of have an attachment or modification slot. The shotgun, for example, you get lead wall, which increases the spread but decreases the damage. Or for the carbine, you could get a silencer, which decreases your accuracy and damage, but makes it harder for you to show up on the minimap. As for the Titan weapons, you could change the quad rocket launcher into a single rocket launcher, which actually works better, I think, against the minions and small human characters. You don't really need 4 spinning rockets to kill a single guy on the ground. Overall, the attachments or modifications or whatever seem pretty balanced. The only thing you probably wouldn't want to use is stock. I mean, there's no reason to use stock when you can do at least extended mag. I don't think extended mag generally had a downside. And just to be clear, you couldn't like stick on multiple attachments. You couldn't do extended mag and a silencer. So really, that seems like it would be possible in real life. But whatever, game balance. So there's no need to really question the logic behind it. Overall, I liked the gunplay, but I felt a bit of it was kind of weird, especially the aim down sights. Now maybe I'm just not used to aim down sights, but considering how mobile the gameplay is, it seems like aim down sights are almost counterintuitive. Yeah, it's great for long range combat, so I'm sure that the carbine and the sniper rifle should have some sort of sights, but I personally rarely use the sights, especially since I was using the shotgun and the smart pistols a lot. Aim down sights just felt really kind of weird to me, like if they had aim down sights in Tribes or Quake or something. But maybe that's just me. Now, the interaction between the pilot and the Titan is pretty interesting. You do have an anti-Titan weapon, and you can use it against the Titan. In a 1v1, it's not that effective. At best, you can keep poking at it, but probably you won't knock their shield out. If they're any good, they can always either find you and kill you, or just go away. There's really no way for the pilot to keep up with the Titan, assuming there's, enough room to move around. That's not to say that the Titan weapons are useless, though. In a team fight, it'll definitely do damage if their shields are down. Or occasionally, if you lose a Titan fight by a sliver of health, you can still kill them off with your anti-Titan weapon while you're sort of dropping out of the sky. However, that's not to say that the pilot is powerless against the Titan in a 1v1. It's not like Battlefield or Halo or PlanetSide 2, where a dude versus a tank is very much in favor of the tank. What a pilot can do against a single Titan is go rodeo. Basically use your parkour and your jetpack and climb on their back. In this case, you can bypass the shield completely and just sort of shoot at the core of the enemy Titan. In which case, the enemy Titan can either use the electrical smoke, which they may not have, get somebody to help them, or they have to jump out of their own Titan and get you off their Titan. I think mechanically it's a pretty cool dynamic. Oh, another cool Titan mechanic, you can sort of put your Titan on autopilot. As in, if you don't want to ride in your Titan, you can have it on guard mode and it'll guard a point, or you can have it follow you, so it's sort of like having almost an extreme Big Daddy following you around and just helping you out. In the capture the point mode, you actually have to put the Titan on guard mode for a lot of the points, because the Titan is too big and the point is actually inside of a building. Now, if your Titan goes into a doomed state, basically you live a little bit longer before it has to blow up. In that case, you can either keep fighting or eject, unless your Titan is equipped with auto-eject, which will clearly auto-eject you. However, also in the doom state, if an enemy Titan punches you, they can actually pull your pilot out of the Titan and kill you right then and there. So that's something to keep in mind. Ultimately, though, I think Titanfall is kind of, I don't want to say forgiving, but it gets you a lot of chances to feel like you're winning even when you're not actually winning. Like, if you lose a Titan fight, you can still possibly get away and kill the enemy Titan. Or at least just get away and not die. Or if you lose a match, an event starts where you have to get to your escape ship. And if you do that, you still get some EXP, some credits, and some burn cards. By the way, burn cards are sort of these temporary buffs you can get each life. Sometimes they give you new weapons, sometimes they give you special abilities, sometimes they just cut down on your timer. Overall, other than the chance to sometimes run away, most matches are pretty symmetrical, which I actually thought was kind of boring. I actually expected it to be something more asymmetrical and more objective-based, sort of like team objective in Chivalry Medieval Warfare, where one side is maybe defending, like, I don't know, power plant or something, and the other side is trying to destroy it. Just something that sort of hints at the story behind the Titanfall universe. Because there seems like there's something going on, they just never sort of explain it, between the tutorial and just how all the maps are. It seems like there's something going on, but they never go too far into it, which I think is a little disappointing, because I remember, I think some of the earlier trailers and interviews, they said they were going to try to tell a story, multiplayer, systematically, but all you really saw in the beta was, well, the ship escape sequence and occasionally you'll see some guy pop up in the top right corner telling you your Titan's ready, or that you're losing and you need to try harder, but nothing that explains like why the hell you are there and what's going on. Granted, beta is beta, and I hope they expand on that in the real game, but I really just want more. It seems like it could be a fun universe to explore, or at least spend a bunch of time reading up on in a wiki or something. Now, I also remember things a lot of people complained about originally were the minions and the Spectre robots that sort of help out each side. They said, oh, you don't need NPCs running around the battlefield, it should just be all humans. Honestly, I don't think it should. I think it actually adds to experience. It makes it seem like you're part of something bigger. Plus, a lot of the grunts have really funny dialogue that make you sound like a badass. Like saying, oh, I love their stem, they're awesome, or blah, blah, blah. Again, it makes you feel more awesome than you actually are, which, don't get me wrong, is nice. But they're also really essential to certain game modes, like attrition. Actually, in the beta, the only mode they were essential for was attrition, but without them, attrition would have been boring as hell. Attrition is basically like a team deathmatch where you're trying to get a certain number of points. But the Spectres and the grunts sort of also count toward that, though at a lesser degree. The reason that helps the game mode is it sort of gives a structure to the fight. You know, it forces the enemy to, if you want to win, you have to kill the enemy minions, instead of just camping on a really defendable spot somewhere. I'm not saying camping is cheap or anything, it's a legitimate strategy, but it's boring if you use it too much, you know? Plus, in some ways, it reminds me of the big battles of PlanetSide 2, but at the same time, it also gives me sort of the benefit of scrimming and Counter-Strike, where it's a 5v5. Your actions impact the match immensely. PlanetSide 2 was a lot of fun, and I still enjoy hopping onto it once in a while, but, you know, a lot of the fights, I didn't really matter. It just depended on how many people I was with and whether we actually worked in unison. But sometimes I don't really want that. I don't want to be a cog in the machine. I want to be a hero, a badass, something along those lines. And I think Titanfall definitely delivers on that. Like, you don't feel miserable playing the game, unless somebody's being a jackass in a voice comm, though I didn't really see that in the beta. However, at the same time, it's not like they made it cheap. It's not like last place having a blue turtle shell, or somebody pulling, I don't know, a random item in Smash Brothers that just wrecks your face. It's very fair, and I think there's a lot of potential for you to get better at the game. I think ultimately I'm saying Titanfall feels very accessible, but not cheap. And it seems like there's a lot of potential for a skilled player to really grow. Yeah, sure, you'll probably still have some matches that are completely one-sided, but I think there's still potential to have a lot of fun even when you're losing badly. Really, my only concern with Titanfall right now is I've only seen the beta, so I don't actually know how much content is in the full game. Of what was in the beta, you could really only get to level 14, and your choices were really limited. You had 2 grenades, 2 sidearms, 2 anti-Titan weapons. Your primaries were a bit more diverse, but there needs to be a lot more content if this is going to be a $60 game. I think the engine is great, gameplay is great, it just sort of depends on how much combat variety there will be. I'm not saying I need a bunch of unlockables, but even in Counter-Strike, if I just want to dick around, I can get some dualies and a MAC-10 and just do stupid shit. Now, ultimately, this is just a first impression of the beta, but if I was to rank this on a score of 1 to 5, where 1 is Titanfall killed my mech hard-on, and 5 is holy shit, I'm pre-ordering this immediately, I'm probably sitting around a 3, which is optimistically looking forward to crushing people with my giant mech boots. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you found it informative, or at least enjoyable. And maybe check out PREORDER.pro, which can be used to keep track of upcoming game releases that you might be interested in. Either way though, thank you very much for watching.